Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the channel. Zach D Productions here, and I'm here for a sort of versus video for you guys. This is actually a video idea I thought of. Now, for this video, we're going to be talking about 3 albums, and all 3 of these albums are from bands in metalcore, and they're all the debut albums. Now, what is interesting is, at least to me, and this is something that I've noticed, and it's that most metalcore bands' debut albums are not one of their best, typically anyways. And I say that's kind of surprising because, you know, when it comes to like other styles of music, like classic rock, a lot of bands and those debut albums, you know, happen to be some of their best work. But it doesn't seem to be that way with metalcore, you know, like with really any of them. Like, I can't really think of one metalcore band where I think the debut is, you know, in the top 3 of one of their best or anything. So yeah, maybe that has a lot to do with, you know, metalcore just, you know, kind of getting its start, and, you know, these bands kind of just, you know, trying to figure out what they want to do, and, you know, trying to, I guess, solidify their sound. So for this video, we're going to talk about these 3 albums here. We're going to talk about Behind Silence and Solitude by All That Remains, Demon Hunter, the self-titled debut, and Ember to Inferno by Trivium. And again, these are all the debut albums, and these are all by bands in the metalcore scene. Now, you could make an argument about whether or not Trivium is really metalcore or not. I've heard some, you know, debates about that, but, you know, I guess, you know, it would be fair to place them in metalcore. At least I would. I mean, where else would you place them, you know, really? But yeah, I think all these albums are actually very good albums, believe it or not. Now, like I said, it is pretty rare when, you know, a metalcore band's debut happens to be one of their best. But with these 3 albums here, I would not consider these any of these bands' best material. But they're all still very good, don't get me wrong. So let's go ahead and first talk about the Behind Silence and Solitude album first by All That Remains. Yeah, needless to say, it's not one of All That Remains' best albums, but you know what? I still think it's very good. You could tell that this album was very influenced by Melodeath. You could tell that they're influenced by that sound, maybe bands like At the Gates and In Flames. But yeah, I think there's some very good songs on this album. From These Wounds, Follow, Clarity. I think Clarity is probably the best song on the album. I really dig the guitar work in that song. Erase is a pretty cool song, but yeah, there's some good songs on this album, and, you know, the style of it, you know, sound-wise and everything, it's pretty good. Now, sure, the production might not be the greatest, but, you know, hey, this is just All That Remains kind of just starting out, so kind of got to give them credit where credit's due. Now, as for Demon Hunter's self-titled debut, I think this is also a very strong album. Not my favorite Demon Hunter album, not even in my top 3 once again, but you know what? I still think it's a very good album, and this album has a lot of influences in it. You know, you got some nu metal, of course. I mean, this album definitely has a very strong nu metal presence in the sound. And you could tell at this time they were very much influenced by bands like Slipknot. So if you're a fan of the first couple of Slipknot albums, I would say check out this album. Yeah, you can definitely tell with, you know, Ryan Clark's screams and even some of the instrumentation that goes on here. You know, you even got a little bit of Melodeath influences as well. I know that Demon Hunter's also heavily influenced by Melodeath as well, but some of my favorites on the album would have to be Screams of the Undead, Infected, which is, of course, a single for them. And the ballad, My Throat is an Open Grave, I actually really like. It's a song that's actually grown on me, because before I used to only think it was okay. Now I think it's a very good song. Still not one of their best ballads or anything, but I do like it, though. Yeah, there's some very good stuff on this album, and if you like heavier nu metal stuff, I'd say give this album a listen. So, Demon Hunter, the self-titled debut. Now, as for Trivium's debut album, Ember to Inferno, once again, not one of Trivium's best, and Trivium is probably my favorite in the metalcore genre as well. Now, Trivium, they're one of those bands that have never released a bad album, at least in my opinion. So even this album, even though I think this album is one of their weakest, I think it's a very good album, actually. Of course, you know, you got some real heavy stuff on this album, and I think this is probably one of Trivium's heaviest albums. You got Pillars of Serpents, If I Could Collapse the Masses, Requiem, the title track. The title track was actually the first Trivium song I ever heard. It's a really great song, but yeah, there's a lot to like about this album. Again, not one of Trivium's best, but it's still very good. So yeah, all these albums here, all three of them, they do have some very strong songs on them. Again, not some of their best material, but still very good. So if I were to rank all of these albums, I'd probably go with this album here at number 3, Behind Silence and Solitude by All That Remains. This is just the one that I return to the least out of the 3. Still a very good album, though. And then we got, at number 2, Demon Hunter's Debut. Very good album, but again, I just don't return to it as much as number 1 on this list, but still very good. But of course, the album that wins for this video, the winner of this video, the best of these 3 debut albums would have to be Ember to Inferno by Trivium. To me, I think that this is just the most solid out of the 3 from start to finish. Very good album, once again. Really, can't go wrong with anything on this album. Now, sure, there's songs better than others, but all in all, very good album. So Ember to Inferno is the winner of this video. It's the best of these 3 debut albums. But once again, I think all these albums from these metalcore bands, they're all very good. All right, don't get me wrong, they're all very good, but again, not some of their best material. But let me know what you guys think. How would you rank these 3 albums if you heard them? Are you a fan of these bands? Feel free to let me know. So with that being said, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day and take care.